You've heard the news. The CDC's eviction moratorium has been set aside by the United States Supreme Court, ruling that the CDC does not have the authority to continue with this eviction moratorium without Congress's approval. And Congress has not approved it at this time. So as it stands, there's no more CDC eviction moratorium. But there's a lot more questions. Will this cause an eviction foreclosure flood? Will maybe is this the end perhaps of the eviction moratoriums altogether? And what does this flood look like? And in today's video, I'm going to be covering that. My name is Eddie Blanco. I am the broker of Stratwell here located in Miami, Florida, and I'll be covering this in this video. All right, so a little bit about history of the whole eviction moratoriums. There's been a lot of back and forth on these eviction moratoriums. One day the news says it's over, and then they say it's back, and then it's over, then it's back. What's been happening? So let me give you a little bit of history on that real quick, just to provide some background. Back at the beginning of COVID and the COVID lockdowns, the CDC put a mandate out saying we cannot be evicting people. Made sense at the time, and they put that through the end of December. Then Congress extended that when they passed the COVID-19 Relief Act. That's when all that PPP and SBA grant monies and all those trillions of dollars were allocated. That extended the moratorium by Congress for 1 month. But then the CDC said, okay, well, we're going to continue extending. They extended through March, then they extended through June, and then they extended to July. But somewhere around May, going back a little bit, several realtor associations, Alabama and Georgia, along with some landlords, sued the CDC saying you have no authority to be mandating this, and we're taking you to court for it. And they sued, and guess what? They won. But that's when they said, okay, CDC can't do any more evictions. But the next day, it was challenged by the federal government, and that was stayed. So basically, it was an appeal, and so they had to basically let the CDC continue doing their thing until the ruling from the Supreme Court. Well, the Supreme Court ruled. Judge Kavanaugh specifically said, I agree that the CDC does not have authority to be doing these evictions. However, it's about to expend now at the end of July, and so let's let it ride out. And they did. So that was how that all shaked out. But then 3 days later, the CDC says, guess what? This is all this COVID, new Delta variant. COVID numbers are spiking again. We need to have this thing in place, especially in the markets that are having high numbers. Well, how they define high numbers really puts 95% of the United States under this protection. The courts had continued these cases. It went back to the Supreme Court, and now the Supreme Court did a final ruling stating CDC has no authority to do this unless they get Congress's approval. So is that the end of the eviction moratoriums? The answer is no. Why? Well, first, Congress might pass something saying, yeah, Delta variant's high. There's some appetite for that. I don't know that it's going to pass. I'm not a politics follower, but I follow it to some degree, and I think there's a slight chance that might happen. But currently, there's an eviction moratorium from another organization. It's a federal government, which is the FHFA. Well, the FHFA is kind of like the big daddy as it relates to all finance, and they govern over Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which is who basically supplies money to markets for loans. So almost everybody has an FHA, Fannie Mae, or Freddie Mac backed loan, and all of them are covered under this FHFA guides. Moreover, a lot of our clients are in the servicing business that do not have an FHA or Fannie Mae backed loan are still following the Fannie Mae, the FHFA's guide, and following Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's lead, because they are the giants in the marketplace, and they are the ones kind of leading the charge. So most of our clients are following that guidance from Fannie and Freddie. So what that means is that even though they can go through with the evictions, they're not. So that's where we're at. So evictions through the end of September will likely not increase. So here's where we're at in terms of MiamiDade numbers. Is there a flood? That was one of the questions that I wanted to answer in this video, and the answer is, in short, no. And why? Well, here are the numbers. 12,879 residential and commercial evictions were filed as of April 2nd, 2020. 2020 through June 30th, 2021. That is not that many evictions filed, surprisingly. And I was surprised to hear that. And then the other thing is that of those, very few, only 145 had filed the CDC's documents to protect them under the CDC protection. So it wasn't even that many people being protected by the CDC directly under this mandate. So then number of evictions actually completed, there was 3,404 evictions completed and executed, which means that the sheriff showed up and the people were either left or they got them out of the property at that time. So 3,400 from March of last year through June of this year isn't that many per month. And just to give you perspective, last month we had, in the last 30 days, we had almost 3,000 closed transactions in Miami-Dade and Broward. So, in Miami-Dade alone. So you can expect that if we're having more transactions than we're having evictions, we're way more. It seems like the market will absorb the evictions, and this will give, if there's anything, it'll give a small breather for the buyers out there that are trying to get into properties and just no supply. This will give some needed supply to the market for renters and for homeowners, which is why I've been an advocate to end the eviction moratoriums, because property owners' rights are important for us as United States citizens. It's what distinguishes the U.S. from many other countries in property right owner. Our property right laws have always been and should continue to be first priority. Property right owners is very important. It helps. It's a way that many poor people end up with wealth by having property rights, by being able to buy property, own property, rent property. And so I'm a big advocate for that. I will be continuing to follow these numbers, continue to report on that. I will have another video coming out on what's happening with foreclosures in Miami-Dade County. Stay tuned for that. If you have some comments, I'd love to hear comments below. What are your thoughts on the end of the eviction moratoriums? What are your thoughts on where this is going to head into the marketplace? And I'd love for you to go ahead and like this video if you've enjoyed it, and share it with your friends and or colleagues. All the best. Have a great day.